So the idea is we're going to use things like this, hand cut out papers, feathers and daisies to make these. So handmade papers again, and I've painted the feathers and put them between the papers and painted the daisies, and those are birds flying. They look a bit like bats, and those are the filamenty feathers. They look better than, so these were the ones that I painted the paper first and then cut. They look too solid to me, whereas these are all lovely and filamenty. In any case, it's up to you. So it's from those to some nice papers for your journals. I've done videos in the past which show this same technique, but combining it with fabrics, which is really worth looking at. I'll put links in the description below and in the top of this video. That was bought rose petals bunged in between two sheets of paper, but that was just with the cellulose glue. So that paper isn't as translucent as these. If you add the acrylic mediums, the papers go translucent. And these are just ideas for you. So those were little hearts that I bought. Those were ribbons that I've placed between two sheets of paper. And they're in the other videos. That was a sheet of tissue paper and sheets of napkin paper that had beautiful bits of music type print on it. Butterflies, that was napkins stuck onto the paper. So that's the tissue paper that side and napkins this side, and it makes really lovely paper for journaling. So I think I've painted those butterflies and put that on. You know, you can do what you like with these. There's loads of lovely ideas. But yeah, that was nice. I actually made my own lace work on it. So I put patterns of flowers and leaves with thread on a piece of paper. So that's in a previous video. Oh, and there's the skeleton leaves that you can buy. I put that through it. Newspapers, magazines, glitter, and that was hydrangea heads. So there's tons of ideas with this, and you can either do it with the methyl cellulose glue, or if you're not so worried about the longevity of the glue, wallpaper paste. But I thought I'd show you this method as well, using these cut out forms, so you can be more in control of what you want. You don't have to buy them, you can make them. And these do make really nice feather things just to make garlands out of as well. So again, this technique can be applied to other things. Good luck, I hope you enjoy the video. Right, get 2 pieces of paper. This is just normal paper you'd have for your home printer to print letters and so on. I'll put up the weight of it when I know it, and I'm just going to roughly draw in a little flower shape like so, and I'm using coloured pencil because I don't like pencil line very much, and then cut it out. So what I do is I cut out the circle around it just to make it easier, and then just cut around your flower shape. Right, I've done loads of these videos, type things on making these papers now. So if you want to go through my videos, list of my videos, there are a few making papers, handmade papers being made in this way because they're lovely. You can put anything you like between them, and you can experiment with how it works best for you. So I've folded that into 4, and now I've got 4 little flowers, and they won't look the same when you put them on your paper, because you will turn them the other way around, or you will have painted them slightly differently. So you repeat that. That's for the flowers. So for the feathers, I do a sort of little feathery bit at the bottom because it looks nice, and then I make a nice shape with your feather, like so. Cut it out, and again I'm doing 4, can you see that? Cut it out. And I will put templates up for this, but I'm going to probably put it as, oh, and just give yourself the space to cut that out and then cut it out, because otherwise it becomes problematic. And it doesn't matter about your mark because you're going to paint it. And just get a nice shape that you like. And I cut sort of the rough parts of the feather out at the bottom because I like it. There you go. So it's more like that. And then again, same this side, but that's a bit sort of square, so I'm just going to make it a bit more interesting. And then you can also just give it a bit of shape there. And you end up with something like that, and then you just cut out little notches where the feather would be. And I found, you'll see, I painted the paper first. You'll see further along in the video that I've painted the paper first and then cut them out. But I found that when I did it like this, painted it once they were cut, the feathers were more feathery. So let's get all that out of the way. Oops, stop down. And you end up with something like that. You've got 4 of them. And then I just, oh, in fact, there's a way of doing this. You just give it a nice twist as you're going down. And you can take bits out like so, because it just makes it look feathery. And you're only supposed to go to half. I've done more there. But it really doesn't matter. Just make sure you don't actually cut it in half when you add the lovely feather filaments on the other side. I work better that way. With just the twist and the movement, and the cutting works really well this way for some reason. And I struggle a bit on the other side. But that's all you do. And you end up with a lovely 4, because I've cut this out 4 times. And you end up with 4 lovely feathers. And you can make them big and little. So there you are. These are finished with acrylic binders, which makes the papers translucent, and you can paint on them and draw on them. I think it would look really lovely with writing over the top of it, and just use acrylic inks onto it. Alternatively, you can paint the papers first. I was going to do the birds on this one, the feathers with this one. Paint them both sides, dry them, and then you can cut them out. I'm practically just using a dirty brush and dirty water here. I'm not too worried about how it goes on, I just want some colour on it. I'm just using up the remnants of what's in my palette. So that one would be for the feathers. So the other side has got the brass and the silver colours on too. Copper and silver, so I'm just going to put just the silver on this side and keep it really light. So I've got the 2. And obviously I'm not worried about it too much at this point. Just see what happens. I've not done this before, so it's experimental, see how it goes. It just seemed like a good idea. Okay, and I shall paint this one. That was just the copper and the silver, because that's lovely. Take this one off to dry. Put this on the cellophane. Oh, I think this was supposed to be for silhouettes for the birds, so I wanted a bit darker. I just want a bit of black in it and some silver. And again, I'm not worried about what it looks like. We're going to see, even that, and some, I quite like the blue in it actually. So let's just see. Oh, and I also thought that fish would be fantastic in this. but I probably won't show you how to do that. It's just so that you know, it's just another idea. I'll put that in the description below, anything I can think of that's a nice idea to make these. So I get the painted paper. This is to just cut out the leaves on the painted paper, exactly the same as on the white paper. I'm just showing you techniques that I've sort of used, because I obviously get as many layers as I can possibly cut, so that I get as many as done at once as I can. And I follow the same pattern as I would have done, same sort of concepts as I would have done with the white unpainted ones. And you'll see that these sort of don't feather out so nicely. I'm sure it's the applying the wet paint that makes the paper buckle a bit and makes it sort of separate out. But you can see doing 4 at a time is very efficient, and they don't look the same when they're on the piece of paper. Okay, I've planed down so that whatever I'm doing doesn't stick. And what I've been doing is preparing some daisies. I'll show you how I've cut them out. And I'm painting them because I want them both sides, I think. That's the plan. It's very simple. Once you cut them out, I just put the yellow bit in the middle. I'll probably do that after I've done this other bit. Put the yellow bit in the middle. And then to the edges, I will paint just a touch of colour. So it's mainly white with perhaps a touch of yellow, blue, grey or green, because I just want a bit of colour on the petals, just so that you can sort of almost see them, so that they're not just the white. And of course you don't have to obliterate the white either. In any case, that's more or less how I do them for those. Like, that is one side already painted, and it's just copper and greens, and you can go as bonkers as you like. And again, I've shown you how to cut these out previously. And then just to add colour to that, I've just added very diluted green and some yellow and some copper or silver and maybe some blue. And it's just really just for fun, isn't it? Just to give it a go. Let's get a bit of silver just to touch it over, so one side's coppery and one side's silvery. And then I'm going to make papers out of them. So that's about it for that bit. This is a bit difficult to tell because I've done a whole lot of daisies, and then these are birds, silhouettes of birds, which are really difficult to tell against the black. But so I'm going to turn them over and paint them, and those are all my feathers. So they're on the cellophane, and then wait till they're completely dry, otherwise you will tear them. But you just gently lift them off, turn them over. Oops, I've torn that one because it's not dry, but in fact it probably won't matter. Turn them over and paint the other side. These aren't quite dry, but if you don't wait till they're dry, the paper, because it's lovely and thin, which is what I wanted it sort of light and airy, the paper will tear when it's wet, but when it's dry it gets stronger again. But you do have to be a bit careful with them. So I'm going to paint the other side of all of these, and all my feathers. I'll turn all of those over and I shall paint them. The feathers particularly do curl up a bit, but try not to fret too much. Try to just persevere, because what will happen is when you stick them down, they will even out again. And of course you could paint a piece of paper like I showed you and avoid this trickiness, but it depends what sort of effect you want. I quite like the way your mark making can actually go with the flow of the feather. Oops, I've got two stuck together there. You don't have to be too fussed about all this, because it's just, like I say so often, it's all going to come out in the wash. So this time I'm doing them white, and then I'm going to put the the dot of yellow in the middle. And you could fuss with the dot of yellow, you could make it more orangey so that it looks more like daisies, or you could just leave it. It's up to you how fussy you are with it and how beautifully you do it. I'm doing it quickly, just so as it's done really. So just carefully peel the dry feathers off your plastic or your greaseproof paper, and of course you could reuse this and then just paint the other side. This is just on really thin paper. It is just normal paper that you'd use to print letters on and so on with the printer, and I wanted it thin because I just wanted this sort of light and airy look. Okay, so now it's just to apply the pieces of cutout imagery onto a piece of tissue paper. So it's just 24-gram tissue paper laid down onto cellophane and a gloss medium, so in there, and some water as well just to dilute it down. Mix it in a clean brush. So the tissue paper has got one layer of the acrylic medium, diluted acrylic medium, on top of it, so they'll stick down onto that. Sprinkle your pretty little things all over. Arrange them so that they're not too regular. Make sure there's glue on top of them as well as underneath them, because you're going to fold the paper over on top of them. I did have problems removing this from the paper, from the cellulose. No, I did have problems removing this from the cellophane, but that comes up in a minute. The best thing to do is to remove it before it's dry. So fix it down, get rid of air bubbles, and the process itself causes the tissue paper to go translucent. It turns it into a sort of plastic and works really, really nicely. You could do it singular layers if you just wanted to fix these down onto your collages. There's lots of ways you could use this. It's just the beginnings of a technique. And you repeat the process exactly the same for the other imagery, for the feathers. Sprinkle them so that they're naturalistic, not too regular. You sort of have to break any regularity, and overlap them as well. They look nice when they're overlapped. Make sure there's glue on top. They really do have a lovely effect, and fish would be beautiful, as I said before. Fish, ferns, other sorts of flowers. In fact, translucent poppy petals would be really nice through it. The world's your oyster. Again, it's up to your imagination, which is something I say quite often. Make sure there's enough glue on top, and then fold the paper over. Get rid of air bubbles and muck, and there you go, another piece of paper. And then again, to make the paper as translucent as possible, put another layer of the acrylic medium, diluted acrylic medium. And you'll see in the next bit, when I try to remove them, I have a few problems because the acrylic medium is plastic and it adheres to the cellophane. And you just have to wait till it's really dry, but not till it's dry enough to pull off. I think it sticks to the cellophane, so be careful. Yeah. Ripping there, so what I'll do, go from and this end. I ripped that there before. So I think that's off of it. Because I can patch it if I want to. Come on, you just ease it away. So I think the idea is to get it, well, before it dries. Yeah, before it dries onto it. I mean, I don't mind the odd rip on the edges, I like them. But look, isn't that nice? It works really well, doesn't it? And then you can make the paper more translucent if you want to by adding more varnish, by adding more medium. And I like the torn edges on it. And you could do anything with this. You could use those lovely leaf things that are, you can buy, just the skeletons. It's really effective. So you end up with 1, 2, there's the bird one, yeah, with the white underneath it, so it's translucent.